Today on Perth Property Hub, I'm in the hot seat talking to Natalie Hatton about why people should use a finance broker instead of going directly to their bank. My name is Kerri Buurman and my business is Buurman Finance Solutions.
Thanks, Kerri, for joining us on Perth Property Hub. So, Kerri, why would you recommend borrowers speaking to you, an experienced broker, rather than going and talking to the bank direct?
That's a pretty easy one, Nat. The main reason for that is when you go into your bank directly, if you're talking with a lender at that bank, they can only offer you the products and services that that one bank offers. Whereas for anyone talking to an experienced mortgage broker, they know that they can have a huge number of lender possibilities. So many lenders have not just different interest rates, fees and charges, but they also have a different set of policies. So one lender's appetite might be completely different to another lender's appetite. So if you just go directly into your bank, how do you actually know that they are, one, doing what's in your best interests because they only have one set of products to offer you, and two, how do you know that they're actually giving you the best overall solution for your circumstances?
What do you think the benefit is of talking to you before making an offer on a property or even going and looking at properties?
Budget. So often I find people are spending a lot of time going online and Googling and actually doing some calculations in terms of what their borrowing capacity is. But the problem with a lot of those online calculators is that if you're not inputting the information correctly as per the lender's policy, it could actually give you a completely false indication of what you're able to borrow. Because we have to take into consideration other liabilities, general living expenses, a whole range of your day-to-day costs. So at least when you do sit down with an experienced broker, they can take you through that side and make sure that you're actually determining exactly what your borrowing capacity is and, more importantly, what your affordability is before you go out and look at that property, fall in love with it, and then find out later that it's out of your budget.
So what are some things you'd recommend to people so that they're getting themselves in the best position to get their loan approved?
So one of the best things to do, obviously, when we sit down with clients is take them through what their deposit is. So we need to be able to show that you've got the funds to complete, and depending on whether you've got a deposit that's 5% or 20%, will also determine whether your application is subject to mortgage insurance or not, and there's some criteria around that. Also making sure that people get rid of things like zip pay and afterpay and the things that the banks don't like, because we have to show bank statements to lenders, to most lenders, and if they see the afterpays and the zip pays come up on the bank statements, they don't like it, because their mindset is if you're using afterpay, you can't afford to buy it in the first place. Now, rightly or wrongly, because I actually understand why some people use afterpay, it makes sense, right? But it's really important to know that lenders actually don't like it. So what will usually happen when I'm sitting down with clients is we have a conversation around, are their bank statements clear? Is their credit reference clear? So we'll do a credit check, make sure there's nothing on there that we need to address with the lender, make sure they've got the right deposit, make sure, for example, that they've been in their current job long enough to have a couple of full cycle pay slips, whether or not they're on probation. There's a whole range of things that we can discuss to make sure that they're actually in the strongest position possible when they go to apply for their finance.
Would you recommend buyers getting a pre-approval letter before going out and looking at properties?
I definitely recommend that people make sure that they've got all their ducks in a row, so to speak. Whether or not we would get a formal pre-approval from the lender would depend on whether they're actually needing to go to that level. We can actually write an eligibility letter for a customer because we have to complete a preliminary credit assessment to make sure that they're in the strongest position possible to actually obtain finance. So for most of my clients, I don't necessarily get a proper pre-approval done through a lender. I'm qualified to actually give that advice and tell them if they're in a good position and give them an eligibility letter that they can then show agents when they're making an offer on a property.
Fantastic. All that information was so insightful and very informative for those who are watching today.
Great. Thank you very much, Nat.
Thanks for joining Perth Property Hub.